What if the most powerful pirate in history wasn't a man, but a woman? And what if she didn't just plunder ships, but crushed governments, defeated navies, and retired undefeated? This woman commanded over 70,000 pirates, more than the population of many cities. Her fleet was so feared, even the Qing dynasty, British and Portuguese navies couldn't stop her, and yet most people have never heard her name. She's been erased from popular culture, buried under male legends like Blackbeard and Captain Kidd, but her story, it's 10 times more savage and 100 times more strategic. This is the jaw-dropping story of Ching Shih, the pirate queen who beat empires and got away with it. Like, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from, because we're going deep into a story that's as shocking as it is true. Ching Shih's rise doesn't start with ships or treasure. It starts in the shadows in a floating brothel in the Canton province of China. In the late 1700s, she wasn't from nobility. She wasn't trained in warfare. She was a sex worker, surviving in one of the only systems available to poor women at the time. And then came Ching Shih, a powerful pirate commander of the Red Flag Fleet. He attacked the brothel. But instead of taking her as a prisoner, he offered her a deal, a marriage, but on her terms. Ching Shih negotiated equal partnership in his empire. Not as a trophy wife, but as co-commander. She wanted control of half his fleet and the decision-making power that came with it. Who does that in the 1700s? Together, they expanded the Red Flag Fleet across the South China Sea. But when Ching Shih suddenly died in a storm just 6 years later, Ching Shih didn't crumble. She moved fast. She outmaneuvered his rivals, took full control of the fleet, and secured her power by aligning with Ching Shih's adopted son, a fierce pirate named Chiang Po-tsai, whom she also married. From a brothel worker to pirate queen in less than a decade. And she was just getting started. The rise of the Red Flag Fleet. At its peak, Ching Shih's pirate force wasn't just a gang. It was a floating military-industrial complex. Here's what she controlled. Over 1,800 ships in total, including warships and transport vessels, up to 80,000 pirates under her command, a fleet 6 times larger than that of Blackbeard combined. The Red Flag Fleet patrolled the South China Sea like a navy, except it wasn't run by politicians. It was run by a woman who made death a policy. She wrote a pirate code so brutal, it makes Game of Thrones look like a kid's book. Disobedience. Beheaded on the spot, stealing from the collective treasury. Executed raping female captives. Death falling asleep on duty. Death. Desertion. You and your family could be killed, but here's the twist. She wasn't cruel for cruelty's sake. This was her version of military discipline. Her way to build loyalty and order across a massive, decentralized network of violent, independent men. And it worked. Her pirates were loyal, deadly, and, under her rule, rich. Every ship paid tribute, every village feared her, and every major port knew if the red flag sails were on the horizon. You either paid up or prepared for war. The rise of the Red Flag Fleet. At its peak, Ching Shih's pirate force wasn't just a gang. It was a floating military-industrial complex. Here's what she controlled. Over 1,800 ships in total, including warships and transport vessels, up to 80,000 pirates under her command, a fleet 6 times larger than that of Blackbeard combined. The Red Flag Fleet patrolled the South China Sea like a navy. Except it wasn't run by politicians. It was run by a woman who made death a policy. She wrote a pirate code so brutal, it makes Game of Thrones look like a kid's book. Disobedience. Beheaded on the spot, stealing from the collective treasury. Executed raping female captives. Death falling asleep on duty. Death. Desertion. You and your family could be killed, but here's the twist. She wasn't cruel for cruelty's sake. This was her version of military discipline. her way to build loyalty and order across a massive, decentralized network of violent, independent men. And it worked. Her pirates were loyal, deadly, and, under her rule, rich. Every ship paid tribute, every village feared her, and every major port knew if the red flag sails were on the horizon, you either paid up or prepared for war. The empire strikes and fails. You don't humiliate a world power without consequences. Eventually, the Qing dynasty had enough. Ching Shih wasn't just stealing gold, she was shaking their entire control over southern China. So they sent the navy, then more navies, then they asked for help. They brought in the Portuguese Navy, the British Royal Navy mercenaries rivals from within the Chinese pirate world. None of them could beat her. She captured warships, stole cannons, and burned imperial fleets to the waterline. She didn't just resist the empire, she embarrassed it. She once blockaded the Pearl River Delta, cutting off trade and food supplies. The empire had to pay her to lift it. Villages preferred paying Ching Shih's taxes over imperial ones. Merchant captains hired her protection, or vanished. Imagine being so powerful the government can't stop you, and your enemies start cutting you checks just to stay afloat. Her success wasn't luck. It was a combination of fear, respect, and military genius. She had maps, scouts, supply chains, and even spies in coastal towns feeding her information. No navy had ever faced an opponent like this, and no woman had ever commanded one. The Pirate Queen's rule book, running an empire on the sea, is one thing. Keeping it running, that takes unmatched strategy. Ching Shih was not only a warlord, she was a logistics mastermind. She built her fleet like a modern military, divided ships into squadrons, each with a captain, created supply routes for food, weapons, and water, built floating marketplaces for trade, and managed a pirate economy with strict income splits. Here's how the pirate payroll worked. 20% of loot went to the raiding crew, 80% went to a central treasury. That treasury funded weapons, repairs, rations, and family support. It wasn't a free-for-all. It was regulated piracy, and the most brilliant part, she created a system of amnesty. If pirates from other fleets surrendered to her, they were given rank and protection. As long as they followed her rules, she absorbed her enemies. She didn't just win battles, she converted threats into loyalty. While other pirates fought over scraps, Ching Shih built an institution. A multi-ethnic, multinational, multi-tiered empire at sea. No one, not even modern navies, had operated like this before. The surrender that wasn't. By 1810, even Ching Shih knew the golden age of piracy was ending. So what did she do? She did what no pirate had ever done before. She walked into the emperor's court. With leverage, she wasn't captured. She wasn't begging, she negotiated. And the result? Full amnesty for herself and her entire fleet, permission to keep her fortune, no prison time, and a title as a government advisor. Imagine Darth Vader walking into the rebel base and walking out with a retirement plan. She handed over ships, sure, but she kept her life, her wealth, her name, and her power. She opened a casino, ran a smuggling operation, raised her children, died peacefully in 1844. She ended her life not as a pirate, but as a businesswoman and legend. Ching Shih didn't just break the system. She played it better than anyone ever had. Why Ching Shih was erased, so why don't we learn about her? Why do we memorize the names of male pirates who died young, lost battles, or got hanged, but not the woman who won? Because Ching Shih challenges everything the system teaches. That power belongs to men, that women can't lead armies, that pirates are doomed to fail, that empires always win. She didn't die in battle. She didn't go down in flames. She outsmarted everyone and lived to tell the tale. And that's why she's missing from most history books. But today, we remember her, not just as a pirate, not just as a woman, but as one of the most dangerous, strategic, and powerful figures in history, regardless of gender. Tell me in the comments, had you ever heard of Ching Shih before? Like the video if you're into real stories that challenge everything you thought you knew. Subscribe for more history that never made it to your classroom. And if you think this was wild, wait until you meet Lakshmi Bai, the 19-year-old queen who fought the British Empire with a sword in one hand and a baby on her back. That's next.